you asked the question, like, how long does it take for you to get your kids to bed? And there were so many comments in there. It was hard to see them all, but people were talking about it's hard to get the kids to fall asleep. It's hard to get them to wind down. It's hard to get them to stay asleep. They stay asleep, but they wake up and they're groggy. Like, there's all sorts of sleep problems that directly impact their mental wellness the next day. And we've got a product soon that people have access to that's going to help with all of that. And I'm super, super excited to get it out the door. So with that, let's go through some slides. I don't think anybody needs to be told this, right? This is the sort of like no duh part of the presentation, which is kids aren't sleeping enough, right? And we know that from the statistics. We know how much sleep kids need, teenagers, adults, and we have very good stats to show that none of us, adults, kids, teenagers, are not getting close to the amount of sleep that we need. So that's the no kidding part of it. But I think the interesting part of, at least for this slide, that most people I think are not really aware of is that there's a very close linkage between what happens in your gut and what happens in your brain as it relates to sleep. We've been talking about that since day one here at Amare, the mental wellness company, the linkage between your gut, your second brain, and how that influences what is happening in your first brain. So we talk a lot about the gut-brain axis. We talk a lot about how most of your neurotransmitters, your serotonin and your dopamine and your GABA and things like that are actually made in the gut. And if your gut is not right, your second brain is not balanced, the brain in your head is not going to be balanced. So you're going to be more stressed, you're going to be less happy, you're going to be more irritated, and you're going to have problems sleeping. So we took the approach of what can we do in the second brain to improve melatonin production so that we can get good quality sleep. I think most people don't realize that about 80% of our body's melatonin is made in the gut, just like 90% of our serotonin and 70% of our dopamine. So our approach is to look at the gut first and not give you melatonin, but help you make your own melatonin by giving you the right building blocks. So big problem out there. Nobody's getting enough sleep. Gut issues are related to this problem. So let's address what's happening across the entire gut-brain axis and give people a brand new cutting-edge solution that's never been seen before. So let's go to the next slide. The next slide is just explaining to us why we need to do this. It's not just that you're going to be a grouch the next day. It's not just that you're going to be sleepy and lackadaisical and all that kind of stuff. But especially when we talk about kids, poor sleep is going to lead to academic performance problems. It's going to lead to behavioral issues. It's going to lead to mental health issues where there's a really good linkage between kids being fatigued, but kids being moody, and kids being irritable, and kids being more stressed, and kids being and adults being less empathetic, if you will. Like, your brain doesn't connect with people the same way when you're sleep deprived versus when you're sleep adequate. And then a big deal, especially for teenagers, is lack of sleep is linked to accidents, and accidents are one of the biggest problem for teenagers out there. So, no one's getting enough sleep. It's causing a lot of problems besides just being groggy the next day. And we got to think about what a solution is. So here's our solution. I can show you the label on this slide here. So what I want to do is walk you through the label and just give you a couple of little highlights about why we think this product is really cool. When we officially launch this at convention, I'm going to give you a deep dive into why this is different, why nothing on the market even compares to this, how it really helps with all those different sort of touch points of sleep quality, getting you to wind down, getting you to fall asleep, getting you to stay asleep, getting you to get into the deep stages and the REM stages of sleep so you get overall better sleep quality. But let's go through each piece of the label. So here's the front of the label, where a couple things are really important. It's called Kids Calm and not Kids Sleep for a very strategic reason. It helps kids relax and wind down and sleep. And that's really, really important for some of the points that I'm going to make in just a little bit. We don't want to just give our kids something and say, okay, go to sleep. Boom. We actually want them to wind down and have what I call a wind down routine so that their body relaxes, their mind relaxes. That's different than sleep. The relaxation response and the sleep response are different things, and we can actually help to naturally modulate those at the same time. The other thing that's really important on the front of the label is in the upper right-hand corner, melatonin free. I wrote just recently a scientific white paper about and I called it The Case Against Melatonin. I posted up onto my blog, I put it on all my social media channels, and it takes a scientific perspective on the fact that, first of all, melatonin is not a good idea for anybody. It's especially a bad idea for kids and teenagers because it can interfere with the hormone changes that they go through when they go through puberty. So there's all kinds of reasons that I wanted to unpack in sort of a scientific, step-by-step, fact-based way. You can go check that out if you want to. But I think what you'll find is consumers are just starting to look for melatonin-free options. And the melatonin-free options that are coming out might be okay for relaxation, but they're not targeting sleep the way that they could and the way that this product does. So melatonin-free, people are starting to look for that, and we have a really nice solution here. Let's go to the next slide. This next slide is the left-hand side of the label, and I want to point out a couple of things. It's not just giving you precursors for melatonin, which I'll talk about on the next slide, but it's also giving you the nutrients or the cofactors that are needed to make the metabolism of melatonin run. So when we talk about the biochemistry of your body making its own natural melatonin, you need certain B vitamins and certain minerals, and you need certain nutrients to make that biochemical machinery operate. We give you all of those. And because we're not giving you melatonin, we're giving your body the ability to make its own melatonin in the right amounts when you need it, just based on what your body needs. You don't wake up feeling groggy. That's the old melatonin hangover that so many people have experienced, that if you take melatonin, the standard 1 milligram dose or 3 milligram dose or 5 milligram dose, you may or may not metabolize all the way through that. So if you have some leftover when your alarm goes off, that's going to make you groggy for the rest of the day. And that's the exact opposite of the reason that you took it in the first place, right? You didn't take a sleep aid to make you groggy the next morning, right? So that's a big, big problem why a lot of people are looking for melatonin-free options. Let's go to the next slide. This is really where the cool stuff is. And this is the supplement facts panel. So this is a gummy with a very delicious blueberry flavored gummy. It's based on the base of it isn't gelatin. The base of it is a fruit fiber called pectin. So we have pectin and we have fructooligosaccharides. These are prebiotic fibers that form the gumdrop, basically. And that's important because those help to nourish, they're prebiotic fibers. They nourish the bacteria in your gut, in your microbiome, that is going to be doing all this metabolic machinery. So we want to make sure that they have a good fuel source. That's why we chose to make the gumdrop out of that. But what you'll also see here is all the vitamins and minerals that you need as those cofactors. So a little bit of vitamin C, a little bit of the B vitamins, a little bit of magnesium, and then the active ingredients here are something called corn grass and something called 5-HTP. So one of them is coming from a grass and one of them is coming from a seed. These are natural sources of compounds that look like serotonin, look like melatonin, and your body will use those. If you can modulate that metabolic machinery, your body will use those as building blocks to make serotonin so your kids are happier, and make melatonin so they have better sleep quality. So let's go to the next slide. And this shows you a little bit of what that biochemistry is. The main bioactive ingredient here is something called 6-MBOA. And that sounds like a scary chemical, but it's a natural polyphenol. We can extract it from corn and wheat and rice and tea. We just happen to extract it from these little baby corn leaves. So sometimes I refer to it as corn grass because it looks like grass. When we harvest it within the 2 or 3 weeks that it pops out of the ground, it's really, really high in this 6-MBOA. And if you look at the structures there, I wish I had my cursor where I could circle it for you. It looks structurally similar to a melatonin molecule. And so if you give that, you swallow it, it goes into your microbiome, your gut bacteria look at that and say, aha, I can use that as a building block to make serotonin, so I'm happier. I can use that as a building block to make melatonin, so I have better sleep quality. It's a natural approach to make melatonin, so you don't have to take melatonin. It is a completely different approach than what everybody else is doing. Let's go to the next slide. And when we compare that to, even if we look at some of the so-called good sleep gummies that are out there, there are some that are trying to go away from melatonin. These are brands that you've probably seen before. These are all good brands. They're not junky brands. We're not telling you what they are right here. I'll tell you what they are. The first one's Smarty Pants. The second one is Zarbee's, and the third one is Ollie. These are all good brands. They make good products. But what you notice with each of these is that they're melatonin based. They have sugar. They might have some calming ingredients, but none of them have natural sleep ingredients. None of them have cofactors that help your metabolic machinery operate better. So, you have to be an educated consumer to understand why ours is so much different than anybody else's. We can go to the next slide, and you can, we've made a chart. And I think this chart is going to be made available to everybody to say, look, here are all the different competitors. Are they using melatonin? Probably. Are they using natural building blocks for your body to make its own melatonin? No. If they are going away from melatonin, like a lot of products are starting to do, they use things like chamomile and lemon balm and passion flower and theanine. Those are all lovely ingredients, right? We use some of those same ingredients in some of our other products, but they're not sleep ingredients. They're calming ingredients. And that's good. But what we wanted to do with Kids Calm is give you the calming and give you the cofactors so you can make your melatonin machinery run, and give you direct sleep building blocks that we're getting from the corn grass and the 5-HTP. Nobody is doing it in such a comprehensive way. And if you know anything about Amare, when we talk about products, we talk about them as little systems that they work across the entire gut-brain axis to really give you a more holistic and comprehensive and overall set of benefits that is going to be more beneficial in your life. You can see all the different pieces here. We have gut support, we have zero sugar, we have the support ingredients, we have the nice natural flavors and nothing artificial and no artificial colors or flavors or sweeteners or any of that kind of garbage. So you put all of that together, and it really makes, I think, a simple premise that we can offer to people, which is on the next slide, which is to say, listen, do we really want to be giving a synthetic hormone, melatonin, to our kids every single night and potentially interfering with their own hormonal metabolism? I think the obvious answer to that is no. If you look across any of the scientific organizations out there, I have one example here, but in the white paper, I have about a half a dozen examples of places like the American Academy of Sleep Medicine saying, hey, we don't recommend melatonin supplements, especially for kids, for a variety of different reasons. There's all kinds of scientific studies coming out that we don't want to do that. Harvard is saying your child's body gets used to it, and then you have to either increase the dose or they become dependent on it. So I think it's pretty simple. Look down to the 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet point down. Would you be interested in a natural way to help the body make its own melatonin for restful sleep at night? I think the answer to that for most people would say, yes, I'd be really interested in that. But what if you could also, with that same product, increase your serotonin production naturally so you have good mood during the day? Then it's a double yes. And what if you could also reduce cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, and support overall well-being? Then it's a triple yes. And so this is the only approach that helps your body do all of that. And we have scientific studies to show that you spend more time in deep sleep, so your body recovers. You spend more time in REM sleep, so your brain recovers. You have overall better sleep quality. And as a result of that, you wake up the next day and you feel better, you perform better, you interact with people better. That's what people are looking for, and that's what people have been missing for forever. So let's go to this last slide that I have, which is there's a lot more we can do than just, pop a gummy. right? That's going to help a lot of people. But what we also want to do is all the things that you see here. And we're creating tools that people can share with their own family, with people that they know and they love, to help improve not just what the kids are doing, but what the whole family is doing. We call this sleep hygiene: keeping your room cool, keeping your room dark, making sure you have a regular schedule, making sure you have a wind down routine, all of these kinds of things that we want to be doing this, but then when we can use a natural supplement to accelerate all of that, it literally changes lives. So I think that's my last slide. Is that my last slide? That is my last slide. And I'm going to hand it back over to Skylar. We could not be happier and more excited to get this product out the door. We had a pilot group that was going. I think you're going to hear from some of them. And it's just been completely changing, not just the kids, but the whole family dynamic. It's really exciting to see. So back to you, Skylar.
Dr. Shawn, thank you so much. Obviously, the product is great, but the science behind it is so solid, as you can see from Dr. Shawn. And I mean, this guy, the reason we call him the unicorn is because he's the absolute best product developer I've ever met in my life. And it's just, like you said, we cannot wait to get this product out the door. We're going to tell you how you can pre-order this product, when it's going to be delivered, all of that. But we wanted to hear from a couple of people here, because we have had a small pilot group. We kept it small, but we said, hey, if you've got kids, make sure that you try this, see how they react, give us the results. And a lot of them actually used it for themselves, because we talked to Dr. Shawn. We said, hey, can adults use this too? He said, absolutely. It's made for kids, but adults can use it. So we brought on a duo here, where Andrea Clark, she tried it herself. She's one of our top leaders here. And she had her daughter, Sammy, try it. And so we've got them both to talk to us here. So before we hear from Sammy, Andrea, I want to hear from you. I know that when you and I talked, you said, I just had an unbelievable experience with these myself. And so I just want to hear a little bit about how you felt once you started taking Calm, and maybe a little bit of how you felt before that.
Hey guys, absolutely. So this is an incredible product. A little bit of my story: I have had severe sleep issues since I was probably about 5 years old. That's my first memory of being up at night with my mind racing, tossing and turning. And I probably started taking over-the-counter and even had some prescribed sleep aids starting in adolescence. And I have been on and off sleep helpers my entire life, since around probably like 15 years old. So I've had really bad sleep issues. And any of you, put it in the chat, who can relate, drop a relate. If you struggle with sleep issues, it can be a really dark thing that you deal with in your life, because when you don't sleep any number of nights in a row, like, it really starts to create cognitive deficits, your mood. It's hard to have stress resilience when you're a parent. Like, it's hard to respond to your children in a loving way, to your spouse. You have cognitive deficits at work. Sleep is one of the key things to have a thriving life. And I found things that worked, but then they didn't work long term. And it's always been a battle. And when I started using Calm, I was like, I'm so hopeful for this. I really hope this is the thing. And I have to tell you guys that this product has changed my sleep and has changed my life, like no exaggeration. I could probably cry telling you guys, because I found myself winding down after taking it, like about 15 minutes, winding down, and then falling asleep another 10 to 15 minutes after that, and staying asleep through the night 8 to 9 hours. So for somebody like me, like I am, who really has to work very hard on little sleep to function and be, very present in my life with no sleep, to get a solid 8 to 9 hours many nights in a row, that is like a gift. It is an incredible gift. So I'm excited for all of you, whether you're an adult or you have kiddos who are experiencing this, to try it. Like, if you're an adult, run and get all 3 packs, all that you're allowed to order. So that's my testimony. And Sammy also has a really cool testimony as well.
So Sammy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. First of all, what do you think of your mom's story?
It's great. Everything about her is great.
Oh, wow. Okay. I want my kids.
Am I better now that I'm sleeping better?
Way better.
Yeah, of course.
Way better, she says. Okay, Sammy, so let's talk to you. You're back to school. You've been back to school for a few weeks, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and you've been taking Calm for what? It's been maybe a couple months?
Yeah, probably
so.
like 6 weeks or something. Yeah, like
Okay, so tell me a little bit about how you were sleeping before you started taking it, and then tell me how you're sleeping now.
Well, before I was taking Kids Calm, it would take me around like an hour to fall asleep. And I would have to snuggle with my mom for like 45 minutes to even get like pretty calm. And then when I would wake up, I would be like really tired and like just like lazy and grumpy. And I would wake up in the middle of the night, like a lot of times saying like, oh, I didn't get any sleep, or what time is it? And now that I've taken Kids Calm, I sleep through the night like really well. And it takes me like 15 minutes to fall asleep. And I wake up energized and ready to start the day for school. And I'm just like ready for the day.
I love to hear that. And I'm sure your mom loves to hear it even more, right?
I do love it. So I just want to add to that. So last year, she really started to see an uptick in stress from school and a lot more homework and demands. And I noticed that her lack of being able to fall asleep and stay asleep coincided with that. So parents can relate to whatever kind of stress that might happen with your kiddos. And no matter what we did, nighttime, that's when the stress really seemed to come on. And so it was a lot of, struggle to fall asleep, struggle to wind down, waking up in the middle of the night, really light sleeping, which then just exacerbated the stress during the day. So that went on for a good 6 or 7 months until Calm came into the picture. And so far things have been really great. And she has even more school stress because she's in a higher grade. So this has been a really incredible product for both of us.
Well, that's what we love to hear, that you guys are part of our pilot group. We're going to make sure we keep the Calm coming to the Clark household.
Yes.
But we definitely appreciate both of you. Thanks so much for being on with us. And those who are listening, give them some love in the chat for Andrea and Sammy. Thanks so much for being on, you too.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right. So that's just a small sampling of what we've heard with this product. We've got more and more testimonials coming. In fact, I think we're going to show a couple of them here. This one's from Lindsay Priest, one of our customers and leaders. She says, I'm so stinking excited. My 13-year-old, who's extremely stubborn and pessimistic, refusing to use any of my weird products, has struggled big time with sleep for the last few years. Took melatonin nightly. She says to me today, Mom, can we get more of these? I only have 3 left. When I asked her if they were working, she said, yes, I fall asleep so fast and sleep all night long. Love that testimonial. That's a great one. We've got one more here. This is from Sarah Bjorgard, another one of our top leaders and customers. She says, our son Kale has always struggled with good sleep. He was born a preemie, never slept through the night until he was 4. As he's grown up, now he's 18, he probably averages less than 6 hours a night, which leads to a lack of concentration in school. He started taking Calm the day we received them. Immediately, he said he felt like he had a better night's sleep. And on day 2, he said he has never had such vivid dreams that he can remember. On nights he misses his Calm, he said he notices a drastic difference in his sleep, and he loves the taste and loves getting good sleep. These are incredible testimonials, and these are just a few of the testimonials that we have. And as we start to get this into more hands and get this to more kids, we're going to see more and more of these, and I love that. So we just wanted to kind of show you a quick sampling